Nobody tells you what happens to a man when he starts feeling like he could disappear and nobody would miss his presence. Just his paycheck, just his repairs, just what he handles. Men don't leave because they've stopped loving somebody. Sometimes they leave because they stopped believing that they were actually needed there. Needed is different from useful. A man can be useful and still feel invisible. And there is a difference between what a man who is busy in the house and a man who says he belongs in the house. And so tonight we're going to talk about why men feel dispensable, what that actually looks like, what it costs, and what it takes to change it. So I want you to stay with us. Welcome to When a Man Loves a Woman. And I'm glad to have Barry and Carl with me as we tackle today's subject because it's important for us to understand what happens when a man doesn't feel needed. Because we've spent the last several episodes talking about what men need. They need trust, they need respect, they need peace. And that when that silence comes, it's not just that because it's weakness. Sometimes that silence is wisdom because it's a man trying to recalibrate himself, not to say something that he shouldn't say and not do something that he shouldn't do. Because underneath all those topics that we've been talking about, we're gonna go a little deeper tonight. Yes, we are, because we're going to talk about the real conversations that need to be had about what a man really fears when he's in his own house, because it's the worst thing in the world to be in your house and yet you don't feel like you belong to it. You feel like you are extraneous, you're extra to the house that you're trying to build. And men don't normally say this out loud. So here's the question. What happens to a man in his marriage, in his home, in his spirit when he stops believing that he truly matters? Amen. You see, not matters in a general sense. I want to start us off here, but it feels like a man doesn't matter to the world. He doesn't matter in his house, doesn't matter to his wife, to his children. And what happens to a man when he starts feeling like that? Could he be replaced? Could he be replaced? Could he be replaced in his home, replaced in his relationship? And that's the feeling we're going to talk about and deal with tonight. Dispensability. I know you all got on me last week about my scantily clad, but we're going to talk about dispensability tonight. What happens when men feel dispensable in their homes, and how we can deal with that. Because when a man goes quiet inside of a marriage, the whole house feels it. When a man feels unneeded, he will shut down. He'll go through the motions, but he won't really be present. So tonight we're going to name it, and that name is being dispensable, and how we can correct that, how we can talk about it and give voice to what's going on. So gentlemen, we know what the topic is tonight. Let's jump in and let's start helping people as we wrestle through this whole issue of what happens when a man feels that he's replaceable.
That's
Well,
scantily
I know
clouded.
for
No,
me, I know for me,
I'm sorry.
I thought of the word dispensable, and I think it's safe to say that every human on Earth has once interacted with a disposable fork, a disposable knife, a disposable utensils. Like, how quick and easy is it for us to use a pen and literally just toss it away? Like, oh, there, there goes my pen, and just grab another one right off the floor. Like, it to even think that we can actually feel less than a utensil. Like, we are way more than a utensil. That's just the
Yeah,
immediate thought that immediately came to me when I started thinking about dispensable. Like, that hurts.
yeah, yeah. You don't feel useful. I think one of the hardest things in the world is like giving your heart, your time, and your energy to something, and still being made to feel like you don't matter. It can make you feel bitter, and it make you feel empty, and it definitely leaves you questioning your value, right? Like I used to work at a data center for this well known bank, and and I worked my butt off, right? But the culture, it was fear based. So every single day they made sure to remind you that one mistake will cost you your job.
Right.
No matter how hard you worked, no matter how loyal you were or how dedicated you were, they never valued you as like as a human being.
Right.
You always felt disposable, right? But but it doesn't compare to feeling that way in your relationship, right?
Right, right. That's the point. That's it. So that's the point right there. Because, at work they always give you reminders. You're only as good as your last performance evaluation. You
Mhm.
know, um, and so we live in that arena. We live dealing with that, facing that. But the one metaphor that just came to me while you were talking, Barry, is that we normally are considered kings of our own castles. And when you look at a castle, what happens with a castle? When the king walks in, there's usually a picture of him somewhere,
Yeah.
or a painting of him somewhere, because that's showing that this house is about him, that he is, he is needed in this house. He's indispensable in this castle. So when we get home, and that's where our family is, and that's where the love of our lives are, and everything else, we got to stop and say, wait a minute, I shouldn't feel like I'm not needed here,
Mhm.
or am I just needed for the basic subsistence, but when it comes to the fun stuff, I'm not needed. So yeah, you can pay the mortgage, you can pay the rent, you can pay the utilities and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes time to having fun, it's like you walk into a room and everybody stops laughing. Everybody's having fun and having a good time when you're not there. But then the moment you walk into the room, then it's like, wait a minute, what
Here
are
he
you
come,
doing
here he come,
here?
here he come, here he come, here he come.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nope, nope, nope.
Yeah,
You got to be serious
yeah,
around him.
And
yeah,
that's that, but that's that feeling that men should never have in their homes, where they're really trying to say, well, do I fit in here? And it's a sad thing, and we wouldn't tolerate that on the job, because if you're gonna have me here on this job, you're not gonna just marginalize me. But when we're in our houses, it's like we can't even speak forth and let people know, wait a minute, no, I'm being left out here. And I'm worth more than just, whether it's paying the bills or the little things, making sure the trash goes out, things like
yeah.
that.
But that's what happens, right? Because when you're made to feel like a replaceable piece of furniture,
Mm-hmm.
right? You do start questioning like do those sacrifices that I was making, do they matter?
Right.
Like when I was making those repairs and you didn't even know about them,
Mm-hmm.
right? When I was protecting you and you were just comfortable watching Netflix because you had no thought or care in the world because I was handling those things.
Right.
Um, the late nights worrying about things that you don't worry about, because God put it on me to worry about those things. You start to question, like, is that even, is it worth that sacrifice when you're looking at me like you like I'm just like some little toy or something that you could throw this toy out and then bring another toy in, thinking it
Mm-hmm.
could do the same exact job. You know what I mean?
Right.
When that next toy might not have the same heart for you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because you're not seeing me.
Right.
You're not seeing me. You're just seeing these
Right.
actions that I'm doing, thinking that they're not important.
Right.
Um, but then when I'm gone,
Yeah, yeah,
you,
exactly.
you know,
Yeah, then it like hits you like, wait, who's the? How come this not isn't done? How come this wasn't done? Carl, you said
yeah,
that thing about the disposable, like like the cutlery.
The utensils.
Yeah,
Yep.
the utensils.
plastic fork.
I mean, that's a powerful image, because I think if men were going to be honest, that is really how they feel. They literally feel like they're just the utensils, and once they're used and their usefulness in that moment is over, they're tossed away. And no man
Yeah,
wants
there's
to
a
feel
comment
like
that
that.
yeah, someone had put a comment, Roxy Abel. What are some examples of how women make men feel disposable? I mean, Barry, I know you was really touching on that question in particular. Just running through somebody. I think personally, what are some examples of how a woman would make a man feel disposable? I don't think it's an intentional thing, but truthfully, like when you get stuck and caught up in the feelings and that motion of whatever situation that may be coming, but then you throw a comment like, you know what, that's fine. You keep doing you. I'll do me.
Mm.
Like at that point, it's like you do you and I do me. Like how do we win if you're doing you and I'm doing me?
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
No,
And
If I'm focused on me, yeah, if I'm focused on me, you focused on you, at what point does me and you become we?
amen. That's good. That's
and
good.
and if I'm just looking at the culture, um, it's not necessarily from what I come from, but if I'm looking at this culture right now, there's a few ways. There's the way of right now it's based on how much money you have. So if you don't make that money, then bye. Um,
Hmm.
what you have? Can you fly me out to some nice place? If you can't do that, then bye. So really, it's not
Mm-hmm.
about me. It's what I have. But then that one phrase to me is a big thing that lets you know that you're disposable. I don't need no man. So
Mm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know
Mm.
so
Say
so
it
you
again. Say it
I,
again.
I don't need no man. You're right, and
Right,
you're right here
Mm-hmm.
in this house doing all that you can with
Mm-hmm.
all your ability, and then the word you hear is "I don't need no man."
right,
That lets you know right there, like I am disposable.
right, right, right. Or
Mm-hmm.
you do
I can do
something.
bad all by myself.
Yeah,
Yep.
that kind of mindset. And it even now when you do things that used to be considered chivalrous, where you open a door for a woman or something like that, and like I don't need you to do that for me. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You know, um, we are supposed to be um that's a sign of respect. That's a sign of honor to the person that you're opening the door for. But another example, getting to Roxy, was it Roxy Baby's is it baby or
Roxy
how?
ate Abel.
Okay, oh, eight Abel. Okay, okay. Well, praise the Lord. Is when
Hallelujah.
decisions get made in the family without the man being involved, when you are
Mm.
are dictated to, well, this is what we're going to do, and it's like, well, I don't get a say in what you all decided to do. When with kids schedules, the schedules are set, all the information is set, and the person who's last to know is the husband, the father. That means he doesn't matter because he was not in the workflow of that decision. When there's
And
dinner.
what I think you're saying is even just being informed,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even that. Right.
Because you don't matter enough to even be informed, and that regard, not even about being included in the decision. It's
Right. Right.
just
Right.
just
Right.
just to let me know, hey, this is happening. I mean, it's like things are happening. Dinner happens and bedtime happens and weekends get planned, but yet the
Mm-hmm.
man that has no say in it. I'm going to do such and such this weekend. Okay, well, isn't that a joint decision? I see Lynn Bradley 4708 says, but if we are a partnership, what made one of us feel left out? How do we get there? So, and I think that's how we get there. We get there because decisions are made, actions are taken, and they're not considered jointly. And if that becomes a routine, that can't be all the time, of course, but if that becomes the
Yeah.
routine that the man is used to, that's where a man feels like he really is disposable. He's those utensils that you can just toss out once you've used them one time. You know, and I think that here's one. You guys check with me, but what about when the man feels like his house runs smoothly without him? That when he is, whatever, goes away on a work trip or whatever else, and he comes back and finds out that, you know, everything is fine without him, you know, um, and that him being home doesn't even make a difference in how the family operates, you know.
Well,
I give that some thought on there. I can play both sides on that because to one side it's like you go out on the road and then you come back and now it's like, oh, dad's back, or oh, Hubs is back, but then at the same time, like I feel like you can also feel like, I have a successful family where it's like, they can actually function, they can, like, we can work together as a unit. But
Right.
by all means, you're at that point, like, you have to really build on that communication to get to that level where it's like
Mhm.
you go away and things are getting done, the lawn is getting mowed, and the kids are still being fed, and you come back home, and whether or not, depending on the dynamic that you have with your significant other, yeah, I would think that communication part of how things are really being handled is the key to that being real successful.
I
Absolutely.
want I want to I want to add a little narcissism in here because house don't run smoothly without me.
Praise him. Praise him. Come on. Say it again for the people in the back.
You might think it's running smoothly, but you done missed some stuff.
Right. But and to that point, there are a lot of things that if a man is really handling his business, there are a lot of things that he takes care of that nobody else in the house even thinks about. It's not even on their
Yeah,
radar screen, but yet it's being taken care of. And the
yeah.
absence of that man will show that those things were being handled and they had no idea about it.
Mhm.
And I think that's an important point of it as well, because there are certain things that we do that we don't broadcast, but they just need to happen in order for the house to function the way it's supposed to function.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm
because
seeing there's a little, wait, real quick. I see there's a little back and forth in the comments right now. Where is he that he isn't involved in the decision making? And then the next one, good question. Some men check out, and so decisions get made because things need to get done. And by all means, I think the confident guy isn't going to feel bad about a decision being made, but in the long run, whether or not the decision was made, at what point do you feel that it is necessary to actually inform your significant other, your partner, hey, guess what? This came up, and now I had to deal with it this way.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Because
I
it's
think
either
it's not. Yeah,
go
it's
ahead,
not. It's
Carl.
not a fact of the decision wasn't made or not. It's more so, when were you going to tell me that this decision was made?
Right, right. So
Yeah.
even if you can't include him in the decision because stuff's going on, then you at least should inform him about the decision. And I think that's the key, is that it either should be informing or including. But I think some men feel like life is happening, they're funding that life, and yet they don't have a say or even knowledge of what that life is. And I think that's where a man feels like he's disposable, that he literally just does not matter, that his emotions aren't considered. Not that I'm not trying to go down an emotional road, but his emotions are not considered.
Let's
But
hop
that
on the train.
you know, because when a man does talk about, and I guess Carl, you gonna weigh in on this, but when a man does weigh in and say, look, I'm stressed, or I'm overwhelmed, does that just get ignored? Like, who cares? So what? Let's move on. I just think we got to, when we don't feel like our status, our emotional life is even recognized, good, bad, or indifferent, that makes us feel like we're invisible.
Yeah, and because I wanted to add because to the Lynn's question and Roxy's statement, I think there is different dynamics to that, right? Because I do think like sometimes the woman is making a lot of decisions. Let's say that man is a soldier and he's away for long periods of time. Yeah, you're gonna make a lot of decisions in the house because he's not in the house. So you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna make a lot of
Mhm.
decisions. And then when you make the phone calls, you say, well, I did this, I took such and such here. Um, and I see the man checking out, but I think you have to figure out why that man is checking out,
Right, right.
because he might be checking out because of this very topic, because he's feeling like he's invisible, and he's feeling like he's been trying to communicate to you that he wants to make these decisions with you, and you're ignoring it, so now he's checking out. So
Mm,
now you're making these decisions and he's just like, whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
do you understand what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a few different dynamics to that because yeah, sometimes in certain households the woman is going to make a lot of the decisions because she's running the house. That man might
Sure.
have a very demanding job where he doesn't handle the house. He does leave that to you. But but when there's more of a cohesive environment where he is in the house more and the decisions, like you said, sometimes just to inform me, like
Right.
the
Right.
kids are going to soccer. Like, where are the kids? You didn't even know where the kids
Mm-hmm.
were.
Right.
They're
Right.
at soccer
Yeah.
because you're not at home for those daily details. So it is for maybe the woman to update you.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not even gonna go that way because I was gonna
Well,
say if
but
it was reversed, but
I was just about to say if the tables were turned, she would not like the fact that she's left out of those decisions, and I think that's what that lack of reciprocity that you would
yeah,
expect just isn't there, and the woman would know if she didn't know something, she would expect to be informed, and if she wasn't informed, she would say something about it.
yeah,
And that's the thing, is like, give to the man the exact same thing that you would expect as the woman. And this is simply just saying, in our relationship dynamics, we've got to have clarity on roles and responsibilities.
yeah.
Lynn Bradley 4708 said that her dad was an over the road trucker. So, but yet he and her mother were always in communication and always made sure what that he was informed. Obviously, he wasn't there to make the decisions, but
Right,
he was
exactly.
informed as to
That's
what
exactly
was
what I
still
was
going
saying
on.
too. Yeah,
And that has to happen. That's a good sign, because that shows how it's supposed to work, because neither of you is independent of the other. You need each other. Husbands, you need your
yeah,
wives. Wives, you need your husbands. So it's
yeah,
not a sense of independence. "Oh, I can do all bad all by myself."
yeah.
You can do, first off, you can do great by yourself. Let's make that,
Yes,
let's change our confession. But secondly, two are still better than one. So if
yes,
two are still better than one, you're still
Definitely.
missing out by yourself. And that's why you
yes,
got to come together, and that word I heard in the chat there is partnership. You're in a
yes.
partnership. So you can't have a vital partnership and a viable partnership if one of the people does not feel like they have a role to play in that partnership.
And I do feel like on us too because I feel like when you said the reciprocity, I feel like women are more comfortable to say why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that.
Right.
I feel like men, we do have to communicate because sometimes we don't want to communicate it because we don't want to appear soft or
Mhm.
you know what I mean. So we just stay quiet about it when we should say this matters to us, uh, rather than just not saying anything. And you
Mhm.
know, because women are better at communicating. Like they're going to say, "Why you didn't tell me that?" Or they're going to
Right.
get
Right.
angry with you, and you know, it might come up 2 months later, but it's going to come up.
Yes, it
Yeah.
will definitely come up. Hallelujah. It'll definitely come up. But another aspect of this, honestly, is that when a man feels disposable, when he feels unneeded, it also strikes a chord at his purpose. Because the question is like, well, what am I here for? What am I doing, or what am I doing wrong? You know? And it's like, am I finished doing what I'm supposed to do? So it's like, that's why I feel expendable, because it feels like everybody can just do their own thing without me, and I don't have a role to play. So it hits a man spiritually right at his purpose,
Hmm.
because our role as fathers, as husbands, it doesn't end, you know and so our sense of being needed, our sense of not being disposable, is vital for us to walk in purpose, because if you don't feel like your purpose is needed, then you start wondering, okay, well, let me find a place where I am needed. And that's where we start seeing relationships break apart for something so simple, you know and we have to really, really address that.
Are you saying that's when the men go to the strip club?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Where the women are scantily clad.
Oh, Lord.
Telling them how
But
good of
you
a man
you
he
you
is
Yeah,
you
exactly.
started saying
just to
something.
get a
You started saying something that caught my ear. And one thought that really came to my mind is that, like, when you start feeling like you feel like you're not needed, and then you really start playing into how society places the role of a man, like how society places the role of a man versus how the Bible tells the man to lead their household.
Mm-hmm.
um that is clearly two different roles. Like you can have your cake and eat it too, yes, but like if you like chocolate and she likes vanilla, but that was never communicated in that aspect. How can you ever expect for, like, all right, we're working on baking this cake together.
Mm-hmm.
We're baking the cake together. We're baking
And
that
you
cake
make it all
together. Yeah, cool. But what's the flavor? Oh well,
Mm.
I was making chocolate. When are we gonna actually say chocolate? Like, so it's like, all right, now you never say chocolate, but now all of a sudden you end up with a vanilla cake.
Mm-hmm.
So now all of a sudden now it's like you never actually said, but I was making a chocolate cake. All
Right.
right, now I we got a vanilla cake. Now all of a sudden it's all I did was mix. That's
Mm.
all I really did. All I did
oh,
was
Right.
mix.
Right. Right.
That's all. That's like like I thought I had 2 cents to put into this cake,
Mm.
but
My
it
goodness.
never came out.
Right, right, right. And that strikes that idea of partnership, because you're not partners when one person has a clear sense of they're trying to make a chocolate cake, and all you think and all you're told is your role is just to whip it up,
yeah.
not to even have a say in what's being created, and that certainly makes you feel like you're not needed.
Yeah, it's an awful feeling
Yes,
to
sir.
not feel needed. I don't know it from the woman's side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I know as a man, it's an awful feeling to we want to feel needed.
Right, right, right.
uh, I don't know if we're taught that or what it is, but um,
I think
we
it's a part
want to
of who we
produce.
are. Yeah, I think this was part of who we are as
Yeah,
humans. And that's true for the women as well. So we understand when we talk like this, that is not, it's not trying to say women don't feel the same thing. That's not what we're talking about. But we're trying to help our brothers understand how to lock into what's going on around them so they don't let the devil trick them and get them out of place because they're feeling a certain kind of way, and nobody's giving voice to it. We are here to really give voice to what's happening in our relationships so that we can
hmm
then talk about them. Because our hope is that when you all watch these videos, that listen to these podcasts, that you then go and have your own discussion. Hey, do you feel like you are dispensable? Do you feel like you're not needed in the house? And have an honest discussion. Talk these things out. It may be some rigorous fellowship, as they say, but it may be necessary to just get the issues on the table.
Yeah, you actually spoke right on Miss Lynn's last comment, but then Roxy talking about whipping it is important though. I mean, yes, yes, we gotta put a little elbow grease into mixing, but like I mean, listen, I can understand, the kid. Ooh, let me not. I'm gonna hold that thought. I'm gonna hold
Uh-oh.
that thought.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm gonna hold that thought. But true, but like really think about it though. Like, has any of us here ever actually felt that way before? Whether it's a relationship or work or family, because like I can think of like the relationships that I've been in. Thank God I've never actually felt replaceable. Family wise, no, for me. But I know that I can empathize for the man that would feel that way, because truthfully, it's not like we've already touched on. That's not a good feeling. Work, we all have that feeling of, we can easily be replaced. I work for the post office, so the post office has
Mm.
been here since before America was ever here.
Hmm.
Like there have been so many other employees before me, and the post office will still be here after me. So
Right.
it's like, if you really start thinking about a mentality like that, it's like, how can you expect your employees to actually show up faithfully and do the job that is delegated to them
That's
to
right.
the best of their ability?
No, that's right. That's right. That's good. But that's right. All right, brothers, let's focus it in now. Let's start talking about these truths that men need to understand so that we can help our brothers understand how to handle these situations.
The truth. The
Oh
truth.
Lord, man,
That,
this
Oh my
chat section
goodness.
is really just getting out of control. Getting out of control. My God,
Unruly.
unruly, but it is true. It is true. When there's
Bring
something
back the
wrong in the
dunce
house,
caps.
there's something they throw my own words back at me. But when there is something wrong in the house, it is on the man. That's why we're talking about when a man loves a woman, because we're trying to understand, put the responsibility where it is, and that responsibility is on the man to get this stuff straight. And that's so important.
I want that to be another topic for another day, a whole episode,
That's fine. We can
because
do it. Let's do it.
I have some words about that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
but yeah, definitely to stick to the truth for the man. I believe that it is okay to share your thoughts and your opinion on whatever situation that you may be going through. I know myself, I know that I can tend to overthink a lot of things, and I start worrying about how my partner is going to react to whatever it is that I'm about to share with them. Um, like it's okay to know, guys, that our voice matters. It
Hmm.
is okay to understand that um, you know, our partner actually does want to hear from us.
Hmm.
Don't just like, sharing our testimony is important. Our partners want to hear from us as much as, we hold that fear of sharing that thought and not knowing how they're going to react. We have to just do it scared and just get through it.
No, that's good. You're good. Because the other thing, brothers, is that when a man feels dispensable, it's really it creates a spiritual crisis inside of him. And I want to talk to our brothers here, because when you really don't feel needed, you really also don't feel wanted. and
Mhm.
and that's where the problem comes in, because if a man doesn't feel wanted, forget about needed. Needed is probably the base level, but if a man doesn't feel wanted either, that do you realize what that does to him? Do you
I
realize
feel that in
how
my
that affects him when he doesn't even feel like he's wanted? And our culture has been so divisive in relationships that it's really tried to generate people who say I can live without you. And that's
Mhm.
that's not how God intended for relationships to be. We need each other.
Yeah.
Men need women, women need men. We can't do this thing absent each other. That's why the Bible said it's not good for man to be alone, you
Nope.
know, because he has a role to play. Just like
Two are better than one.
two are better than one. So when one falls, the other can pick them up. We're
Yes.
missing out on potential because we have not partnered properly in our houses, in our relationships. And if we're not partnering properly, purpose isn't will not be accomplished, and we're going to be more problematic in where we go with our relationship. And so men just don't want to feel needed; they want to be wanted, and
Yeah.
that's why it's so important for us to remember that.
Wait, another thought that just came to my mind too. Man, imagine that at one point society tried to lock us up, to keep us away from our families.
Hmm.
More so towards black men, but just imagine, look at the numbers for the men that's going to prison. You remove the man from the family and you tell the women that, you can get all the aid and help in the world. You'll get the financial backing from the government.
Hmm.
You can have all these kids and do bad all by yourself, like how they
Hmm.
say. But
Hmm.
then, you still there's a part of you that would end up lacking. Is like, I want that connection from a man, but then, what are you left with? Like, the dating pool is just full of garbage at that point.
Man, you're right. You're exactly right. And
Yeah.
but that gets back to that fundamental point about um, what is that man's role? Because right now, the way I'm probably gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm you know the way society has structured relationships, women don't even need men in the bedroom now. and
Mhm.
and so it's like, what good am I if I can't be in the bedroom, I can't be in the kitchen, I can't be in the house, I can't be in the garage. It's like, what role do I really play? So, and that
Yeah.
everybody needs to feel wanted, you know. Men need it as well. People may think, oh, he don't need it. He's wrapped up into his job. He get up and go to his job every day. Yeah, because he knows he needs to. But
Yeah, and
everybody wants.
he's getting up to go to that job because he's thinking that he's taking care of his family at home. He's
There you
thinking
go.
that's what he's supposed to do. That's why he's working all these hours. That's why
Yes,
maybe it's not the right thing to do. Maybe it's falling into toxicity, but that's why he's doing it.
correct,
Um,
correct.
because I believe a man could live in a shack, like
Yes,
like he's
yes,
typically doing all these things for his family.
that's exactly right. That's right.
Because men are very simple people, you know.
Absolutely,
Ooh, but also,
absolutely.
man, don't be lying to yourself neither. Oh, I'm doing this for me, going to the strip club. Oh, I'm doing this for me, going to, I don't even know where else you would go to, really.
Hmm.
Like, don't lie to yourself that, oh, I'm doing this to better myself or us, but
Right,
in
right.
reality, you're the only one that's really
Wait,
benefiting from.
wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait. Huh? You said go to the strip club to better yourself?
No, but
Wait,
just
huh?
but all right, let's give it a bit. All right, let's say, all right. I
Release
mean, I don't even
pressure or
know.
stress. Release stress.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
like
Okay,
like
I'm so
it's
okay.
I
one
I got
thing it's one thing to do a hobby
okay.
that you're interested in, yes, but like if you really think about it, like, all right, like there's no fault to a guy wanting to relax and enjoy his alone time, but at the same time, it's like, if all you know is being alone, like, at one point, where is that time come into play for your partner? And
mm,
now all of a sudden, now it's the decisions end up falling on the partner.
mm,
But it's
Mhm.
like, but do I really need you if
right,
I'm really making all decisions?
right, right.
Yeah.
That's important, and the sad part is, if we're going to just talk about this as a holistic topic, men have been made to feel unnecessary even in church. We didn't use that as a part of our question, but if we're going to be honest, not only are men sometimes not feeling like they're needed in their homes, on their jobs, but even in the church. And that's why we've seen men run from the church, because they don't think there's a place for them in that church, and that's a dangerous place to be, because we've got to recognize that men need to be needed just like anybody else needs to be needed. And it can't be that, oh, well, we can just expect them to be there or whatever else, because men will go where they are appreciated. I remember somebody told this story. It's an anecdote. I don't know if it really happened, but it's an anecdote about how a guy came to church, and he left his phone on, and his phone started ringing, and he couldn't shut it off fast enough, and everybody glared at him and jeered at him, and how you come here and not turn your phone off.
Yeah,
Then
I
he
know this
goes
story.
then he
Yeah.
goes over to the club to have a drink, and he sits there, and he turns quickly and ends up knocking the drink out of the bartender's hand, and knocks it on the person next to him. And rather than people getting upset, they say, oh, no problem, don't worry about it. They help clean it up and do whatever else, and they say, look, next drink is on me, don't worry about it. And they
Uh-huh.
treat him like with some level of appreciation and
Yeah.
respect. And because he gets that, he then never goes back to church, but yet he makes sure he always goes back
Yeah.
to that club. And that's really what men do. We will always gravitate towards the place where we are shown the greatest appreciation, and the fact that we are welcomed in that space.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
because yeah, we're not trying to yeah, because we're not trying to infiltrate anywhere or be somewhere where we're not wanted, and
right?
yeah.
And that's really why we
And
did
I
this
would
podcast. That's why we do this podcast, because we're trying to have a place where men can actually hear from other men about the how to get things right, to let them know that there is a place for them. It's not about, the men have grievances and let's just talk about the men's grievances. That's not what this show is about. This show is not about blaming women for problems and all that. Listen, every relationship has challenges, and both people are to blame if there's a problem in the relationship. And it's not on one person, it's not on the other. But this show is specifically for men to grow and to hear how they can be better at being the men that God called them to be, not only in their home, but also on their job and in church and in society, because we are really suffering from a serious crisis where our men are not where they need to be, and we're seeing the blast zone all around our communities because men are absent from where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and then that's something we've really got to work on. We've really got to work on. So let's we're about to wrap up here, but before we wrap up, let's talk about what men need to hear and what women need to hear to make sure that we're giving some real focused responses to to today's question, so you can hopefully have a good discussion in your home about this issue of dispensability, to make sure you're not, because this is not about blaming anybody. It's not saying, okay, men, you can blame your woman or anything like that. No, this is what we're trying to say is that men are carrying, I gotta say it, emotional baggage as it relates to, are they needed and wanted in their own homes? Are they literally the disposable utensils that you get from the fast food place? Because the goal tonight is not
Mm.
to make you feel that there is no solution, that it's just supposed to be that way. It's to give you the strategies to come out of it. So what do our men need to hear? Carl, why don't you tell us what men need to hear if we're going to move beyond this feeling of being dispensable?
Uh, don't wait to feel valued. You
Mm,
definitely want to, start acting valuable. And how do you start acting valuable? Well, first off, I'm actually reminded of a slogan that they started, not started, for years. You hear it if you were to travel on the New York subway. See something, say something.
mm,
You do tend to see that at airports nowadays. See something, say something.
Mhm.
Like if you see a bag just left alone on the ground, go make a report. If you see something wrong in your relationship, don't be scared to address it.
that's good.
Mhm.
Because truthfully, that we gonna fall back on what Pastor Tom says. If something is wrong in your home, guess what? That was on the man. Because if you saw something going wrong, why did you let that fester?
That's good. That's
You
good. Barry,
know,
what you got to say, man? What do our
I,
men need
I
to hear?
I mean, I was gonna say something along the lines of that. If you are feeling that way, if you are feeling like you're dispensable, like you're feeling unwanted, I absolutely think you need to communicate that,
Hmm.
um, and understand that, and communicating that you might not get back what you want to hear. So be prepared for that as well.
Jesus, my
Um,
God.
and if it and if it needs to go further, get counseling. Seek out counseling. Because sometimes you need a third party to come in to help you guys out with, because it because sometimes a man could feel unwanted, and it's not even about that woman. Do
Right.
you know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's about maybe what things that happened to him, where he's taking these little triggers that you're doing as you don't want him,
Hmm.
or certain words that you say, or certain movements that you make. Um, so listen, communication. We all know communication is like everything. Because if you're just sitting around not saying anything, nothing's going to get resolved anyway. If you're
No,
not acknowledging anything.
that's good.
So,
And go ahead, Barry. Go ahead, finish up.
nope, nope. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I think what's interesting is that when the man asks that question, hey, I'm feeling like I'm dispensable. I'm disposable in our relationship. We got to be, like you said, you got to be ready to hear that answer, because she may very well say to you, "Well, you proved I don't need you, because I needed you to do
Yeah,
this, I needed you to do that, I needed you to do the other, and you left
you
me
might be
hanging
right.
every single time. So you're
Yeah.
right, because you've proven to me that I can't rely on you." You see, and you've
Right.
got to be willing to hear that, not so you can feel all mad and get, blown up like a frog on a log, but you got to be able to say, okay, that's fair, that's fair. I got to
Yeah.
do better. You see,
Yeah.
because we don't get it right, and sometimes we send the wrong signal, so we're feeling like we're dispensable because we proved that we could be
Yeah.
dispensable because we didn't show up when we needed to show up.
That's
You
right.
know, and I think that's key because the truth is, brothers, as much as we want to be problem solvers, God didn't call us just to be useful to our families. God called us to be purposeful. And so even
Yeah.
when you are useful, that's good. But the problem with useful things, that's why, Carl, I think your metaphor about the utensils, the disposable utensils is so important
Yeah, you do
because,
seem to like that. You like that.
yeah, man, I think that's good stuff right there. Because once you use them, you toss them. You know,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
that's what useful
Yeah,
things are.
I gotta go pick up that pen I threw earlier. I don't think
Yeah,
anybody caught that.
but that's what happens with quote unquote useful things. They get replaced because there's a point when you use the plastic
Yes,
thing,
they get replaced. Yep.
but they get replaced with
I
something
gotta.
else.
Yep.
You see,
Yeah.
but when you have purpose and when you lead your family with purpose, then you don't get replaced. You get remembered. You see,
Oh
because
wow.
then you're not left out of the equation because they realize that what you bring to the home is something that's needed in the home and that you really make a difference, not because you're a utility, you're not a
Mm-hmm.
utensil, but because you have that purpose that brings something to the family that the family really needs. And I think
Yeah.
that's so vital.
And that sounds like a uniqueness. Like I
Hmm.
can't be replaced because no one else could fill this space.
Right. Yes.
Like yeah, there's all different types of knives, but I'm a special knife.
Come on now. Come on now.
That's what it sounds like you're saying to me. I could be wrong, but that's what it sounds like you're saying to me.
That's
And that's why you're going to be
So,
remembered because
yeah.
there's
so what kind of knife are
nothing
you? Are
and
you
no
a
one else.
cleaver? Are you a butcher's knife? Are you a pear knife?
That's
I'm a
right.
Or
Swiss
Yeah.
Army
are you a
knife.
samurai sword?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Or are you one of them little plastic utensil
Oh
knives?
man,
You see,
A
you
butter
use
it
knife.
one time and
matters.
oh, yeah.
It really does matter. So let's talk to our ladies now. Come on, Carl, talk to us. Talk to the ladies. What do they need to hear out of this discussion tonight?
I mean, truthfully, ladies, we want you to know that you have so much power to sway the relationship.
Hmm.
You really do. And there are some times where, in the heat of a moment where something might come up, and there's time frames that we both work on. Some men work on one time frame, the women might work on a different time frame. The key is that we want to link up on that one time frame, but if we don't don't come after your man if he's not on your wavelength.
Hmm.
Like, because if you really think about it, I might not be there right now, but if you can see the true work, the true change happening, don't discredit that man. Give him that chance. Be humble with him. Because truth be told, your man isn't gonna wake up tomorrow saying, you know, I've been feeling real dispensable. Like, no man is
Right.
like,
Right.
huh?
Right.
Like truthfully, like, just hearing the word dispensable, like, this is really the only time I've ever really heard the word
Hmm.
dispensable.
Hmm.
But it's like, to really think about it, like, yes, with the utensil analogy, like, to think that you can ever be viewed, any human could ever be viewed as, don't need it.
Hmm.
Like, even earlier with me just throwing that pen across my room, imagine that you get another new pencil, and guess what, this one is even more shiny.
Hmm.
But now what happens if I start writing and now it's all spotty?
Right.
Like, going back to Barry's terminology too, it's like he is a specially made knife for a special occasion that only he can do.
Right. Right. And that's the blessing. And
Yes.
that's the blessing because ladies, I need you to hear me tonight that it's not your role to be responsible for your husband's wholeness. It's just not.
Yeah.
Okay,
Amen.
that's not your job, and that's too heavy a burden to put on you. Okay, but here's what I want you to understand: you have unique access that is really irreplaceable in a man's life because there's something you can say to him and a way you can reach him that nobody else can. That a boss on his job, that a friend at the barbershop can't reach him. But when you tell him, and I'm not talking about that, you just didn't do something right, but that he matters to your family. When you affirm that this man matters to your family, you don't know how that makes him feel on the inside. Because remember, I said there's a difference between being needed and being wanted. And so when you
Hmm.
say he matters, you're actually saying to that man that you want him around. Not that you just need him because of the functions that he completes, but you want him around because of who he is. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
that causes something on the inside of a man to just come alive.
That's
Because
right.
listen, the man doesn't need you to be his therapist. Okay, he doesn't need you to fix what's wrong in him. He just needs to know that you see him and that you appreciate him. Even if he's not the man you need him to be today, you still are championing him and pushing him on so you can encourage him to keep on that path of growth and development. That's the role and the vital role and the irreplaceable role that you play in your husband's life.
That's right.
You know, and that's
That's
so
right.
important because without that, a man will feel like he's rudderless in his own house. That he's not sure where to go because everything is just completely tossed in the wind.
Hmm.
You know.
And even another thing I just brought up too, don't ladies, don't be scared to depend on your man either.
Mm,
Because quite frankly, a lot of guys well, let me speak for me, if somebody starts thinking, "Oh, Carl can't do that." What?
right.
Let me
Right.
prove you wrong. Let me prove you wrong.
Hmm.
Yeah, I live for those moments. Yeah.
That's
Don't
right.
be scared to depend on your man cuz you going to end up, and I'm going to play off like Roxy has said, who's going to argue with customer service for me? I need my hubby. Now by all means, like if you are really in tune with your partner, we can be your biggest cheerleaders. We will be your hype man. Cause I'll start making my song quotes. I ain't gonna do it now, but yeah, we can be your biggest cheerleaders too, just like
Absolutely.
you
Well,
can hype us up too.
this is what I think the women need to hear. You absolutely need us. I mean, God created you from our side. You wouldn't even exist. I'm just playing. Um,
I said, "Oh my God, he's trying to start the whole podcast over again."
but I will say I saw this video one time, and this video was this woman when her man was away, right? She had her luggage, and she would just pick up her luggage and toss it in her car, and she would fix a shelf, and she was doing all this stuff when she was by herself. When her man came home, she would be like, "Baby, could you put my luggage in the car? Baby, could you do this? Baby, could you do that?" And it just that
The
uh
defensiveness. Yep.
well
I remember
that
seeing
man,
that
he
video.
just
Yep.
felt so needed because she didn't act like she didn't she acted like she needed him in these situations. And I would venture to say that yeah, she could do these things, but when her man was around, she was like, I don't need to do these things because I got my man here.
Mm,
He can do
man, that's
these things for me.
that's
Because
powerful.
she wants him there to do these things. I'm not saying that's the only thing he's there for, but he's there to cover her. So
Amen.
she doesn't have to do these things on her own. So
That's right.
I think even those little small things makes a man feel wanted in a relationship. It doesn't have to be these big major events.
Correct. Correct.
Um, it's just these small details in a relationship that gives your man a signal that yeah, I want you here. I need you here. I need you in my life. Things are different when you're around. If that makes sense to you all.
Absolutely, man. That's
Yeah,
good. So let's
definitely.
let's go and bring it to a close tonight by just encouraging you, brothers. We know you're carrying a lot, okay? And but we want to encourage you tonight from today's discussion is that you are not replaceable. You are not utilitarian. You matter. You matter to your family. And even though you don't feel like you matter because you weren't made to be replaceable. You were made to be, watch this word, irreplaceable. And so the people in your house may not even recognize it, but that's okay because you have to know that you are needed in your house even if you don't feel like it, because your purpose is to be there. So don't let this season where you're feeling invisible convince you that it's going to be responded to by some kind of permanent exit from the house, because your house needs your presence. You are needed and you are wanted in your home. Amen.
Amen.
All right, brothers,
love it.
thank you, Barry, Carl. This is Trevon. Thank you all for being with us tonight. Please like and share our videos. Help us grow our audience. Why don't you download our podcast? All of it's under WAMLAW show. So Wham Law Show. You can download it. Our podcast. Connect with us on social media. We're just getting started, but we know we're making a difference in the lives of our men, because we are here to support men, but also to uplift our women, to let them know that they don't have to do this stuff by themselves. Men, you're not just needed, you're wanted, and we thank God for each and every one of you. We'll see you next time, next Thursday, 7 p.m. We'll be back. But until that time, men, take care of your house. God bless you all.